playground levels. Now, what is that? You may have heard of linear levels, non-linear levels, even things like open world games or ones without any levels whatsoever. But what the heck is a playground level? Well, think back to your childhood, or I guess currenthood if you're young enough, and picture what you can do in a playground. You can go on the slide, climb the monkey bars, or go back and forth on those little animals. I have no idea what they're called. Like rocking horses or something? I don't know. Maybe you wanna go on the swings too, but they make you a bit sick, so instead you build a sandcastle, and after all that, you head home. That. I'm talking about levels in games that capture exactly that. Great, you think? Now I have even less of an idea. Well, let me elaborate. Playground levels are stages in video games that are fairly open-ended and are filled with little optional challenges the player can do. Said challenges are often very gimmicky and different from each other, and play around with the game's engine. They're very bite-sized, so they don't take long to complete. And even if you don't care for one, you can quickly opt out of it. Exactly like what you do on a playground. Try out what you like and move on if you don't. You could also call these funfair levels, theme park levels, or mall levels. But I like my definition the best because admission is free. So you don't need to feel compelled to try all of them out just to get your money's worth. You probably have a ton of games on your mind right now, like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, Breath of the Wild, or Minecraft. But I don't think those fit either. While they also contain little side quests and whatnot, it's often the journey to those challenges that's the main part of the game. Nobody boots up GTA just to go bowling. Okay, maybe me. I like Roman. In Minecraft's case, it's about making your own challenges, like you're building a sandcastle. But they're not called sandbox levels, so games like Teardown and People Playground are also out. Okay, school lesson is over, let's look at some actual examples. One game that comes to mind is Coin Game, where the whole point is to go around arcades and fun fairs to play various minigames. So they're not just a distraction, but the main gameplay loop, and you can even play them for free. However, this one's only an honorable mention, since all the games are based on real-life ones, and they also don't really play with the engine. They kinda do their own thing, and the walking around portion is a glorified selection menu. Instead, I'd like to point towards my favorite puzzle game of all time, the Talos Principle. You're probably more familiar with Portal, which has a set of linear stages that you can't skip nor do in any order. Talos Principle, on the other hand, is not like that at all. All puzzles are contained within their own small hub worlds, and while you still need to complete all the main ones, you can do them in any order that you wish. You can even leave in the middle of solving a puzzle and return later without needing to do everything all over again. The game even encourages this, as it straight up tells you to try other puzzles if one is too hard. Even the hubs can be selected at random, so if you don't care for playing Egypt-themed levels, you can go to Rome or the Middle Ages. Yeah, Talos is, it's hard to describe. And each of those puzzles is centered around a certain gimmick, some more than others. There's ones all about stepping on fans, or going in a circle, or using windows, or even those goddamn annoying mines. I hate them so much. It often really feels like the developers were just having fun with the engine. And this structure works extremely well for puzzle games, since they're already designed around small, contained challenges. Much like our next game, Pikmin. All of them. Well, almost all of them. In Pikmin, you lead around a group of, well, Pikmin to collect various important items. While some items are out in the open, most are locked behind a challenge, usually a puzzle. Either it's defeating an enemy in dangerous conditions, having to figure out how to cross water, using seesaws, throwing a Pikmin or captains in a certain order, or even doing a small stealth section. The order that you do these in is completely up to you, and you can always opt out of any of them on the spot. Pikmin 2 and 4 take this a step further by also including caves, which are full of sub-levels that have their own challenges. Maybe you need to figure out how to get past a sniper on a tower, deal with falling bombs, navigate around hundreds of enemies, or even play the entire thing with only one Pikmin type. While you lock into these challenges by selecting the caves, you don't need to do them all. Collecting items may be the point of the games, but not all are required for beating them. In Pikmin 3, if you're fast enough, you can even skip certain pieces of fruit since they only extend the time limit, which is a challenge in itself. And you don't need to do the challenges the way the game wants you to either. Your Pikmin come with their own abilities after all. So your winged Pikmin can cross water the same way your blue Pikmin can, and your rock Pikmin can deal with burning enemies the same way reds can. Even a lot of the traps can be dealt with by any Pikmin type as long as you time it right. So as you can see, involvement in gameplay and being able to leave at any point are important aspects, which our next game, and the one that inspired this video, encapsulates perfectly. Doom 2. I've waffled on about this game so many damn times, and a lot of what I say here I've already said in these videos. Much like the case from Pikmin 2, Doom 2 is also filled with countless levels that are centered around a central gimmick. Like one that's all about explosive barrels, or giant pits of hazardous waste, and so on. But some levels also exist solely as collections of several small, disconnected challenges. Like my favorite, Suburbs, where you could grab the necessary keys and book it right to the exit from the start, but then you'd miss things like the Blood House or the Imp Garage. Doom 2 is also hard to describe. In downtown, each of the buildings houses its own little mini-puzzle. They're not that original, some just being about taking a lift or fighting enemies in a certain way, but they're never alike. The maps, the pit, and especially tricks and traps, however, take this a step further. Now they're going all out with the gimmicks, like fighting hundreds of enemies at once, crossing falling platforms, or dealing with demons teleporting behind you, nothing personnel kit. And again, most of these challenges are entirely optional. You can thank Sandy Peterson for that, who always liked to do something unique with Doom's engine in little ways. Some people dislike Doom 2 for its randomness, but I think it's its biggest strength. I mean, in what other game do you make the bosses fight several smaller enemies or even each other? However, there's one title that I think embodies the term playground level more than any of the other ones. I'm talking about a little unknown indie game called Super Mario 64. Every level, except for 3, is filled to the brim with gimmicky challenges you need to do in order to collect stars. It's also one of those games. These range from simple platforming challenges all the way to collectathons, goose chases, races, escort quests, memory puzzles, and so many more. Sometimes you run, sometimes you swim, sometimes you fly. Some even require you to fully explore stages to uncover the secrets. There is a ton of variety in them, but at the end of the day, they're all centered around Mario's movement. You don't suddenly get into a car for a race or turn into a fish to swim. You keep your moveset and need to figure out how to best utilize it in these different scenarios. And if you don't care for one of them, skip it! There's hundreds of others like it. Only one star gets highlighted at the beginning, but almost all stars are always available. Heck, you can even redo old ones if you really enjoyed them. And even the maps themselves are their own gimmicks, like being filled with deep snow, water, sinking sand, and so on. Since you only really need to beat 3 required stages, you can do the rest in any order you please. Or don't do them at all. You hate the levels with bottomless pits? Skip them! It's what I always do, I barely even touch any of the paintings on the 3rd floor. So, much like Pikmin 2 and 4, it's playgrounds within playgrounds. People always complain about the game booting you out of stages after collecting a star, but has it ever occurred to them that might be the point? You're meant to explore the other levels instead of just sticking to one gimmick. Super Mario Odyssey also does these things, often a lot better in regards to the challenges, but less when it comes to stages. There are a million more items to collect, and the way you do so varies wildly. But it's also a much more linear experience where every world has to be completed, often in order. Which I find makes the game less replayable if you're going for variety. Because ultimately, playground levels are about player freedom. You decide what you want to do. A playground doesn't have a sign that says you need to go on the swings, you just do it if you want to. Your experience is your story and it can be different each time. And not only are they about player freedom, but also player expression. You decide how you want to beat these challenges. You don't have to take the intended path. Come up with your own ideas. The game is just offering you options, but you don't need to make use of any of them. It's really no wonder games like Super Mario 64 are popular to speedrun then. If there's a million ways to play them, there's a billion ways to play them even faster. And playground levels have other benefits. They allow you to try out certain gimmicks at your own pace, without being forced to do the ones you hate. I'd like to replay certain games, but I really don't want to have to replay the mandatory swimming or driving sections. But if I'm not forced to do them, then I might give them a go. For instance, races in games give me severe anxiety, but I still did all the Koopa races in Super Mario Odyssey. Why? Because I could, and because I could also just walk away. Playground levels are also fascinating from a design perspective. It's fun to see how developers are able to twist the game's engine in ways you didn't expect. And since they're so small, they don't need to waste a lot of resources on something the players might dislike. They can just get their silly ideas out there, and if people don't care for it, no loss. Of course, there's also downsides. With a lot of options also comes overchoice, being offered too many options, overwhelming players. With too much freedom also comes a potential lack of balance. Either the challenges are all on the same level and don't, well, challenge the player enough, or there's extreme difficulty spikes, so the player has to wander aimlessly until they find something they're able to do. It's also possible to only pick the most boring options and get burned out before even attempting the more interesting ones, which happened to me before. So it's important to offer the player a guideline that they can follow, but don't need to. Super Mario 64 has the star hints, Pikmin pushes you in a certain direction, and the Talos principle has numbered stages. So you can ignore all of that and go your own way, but still fall back on the main path if you don't know what to do. And this still allows for increase in difficulty, since the main path can get harder and harder, with the side challenges being easy alternatives. In Super Mario Odyssey, you even collect more moons if you follow the story than if you just wander around on your own. So it's a faster main route, or your own, slower one. Overall, I really love playground levels, and I wish more games these days did them, as they offer something you just don't get from any other type of level design. But I'd love to hear what you think. Are there any playground level games I didn't mention? Let me know down below. And if you've enjoyed the video and would like to see more, then show me that by leaving a like, a comment, and even by donating directly to my Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can see new videos 1 week earlier than everybody else. Anything is appreciated. But for now, thank you very much for watching, have a wonderful day, and goodbye.